What's up, everyone? This is Bob's Three-Toed Warriors from Studio 1329 with the Word on the Street, Season 1, Episode 15, titled Hammer Time.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I thought I had it paused at Hammer Time, and I did not.
That's okay, man. We got it. I was actually starting to do a little hammer action right there.
There we go. We lost him on the stage, but hey, he was there. So today I have David with me on the show, also known as Hammerjacks1 if you're out there on the Twitters. David, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on, Bob. I'm really looking forward to this. Happy Father's Day.
So here's the funny part, people listening. We are telling each other Happy Father's Day because that is a factual statement for the real place and time we are. But because of this neat time continuum of recording and playing later, this show is actually the Thursday before 4th of July show because I've got a couple logged up and ready to go because I'm going to be out of town next week and doing stuff. So we get to celebrate two holidays at once here. Happy Father's Day. Happy 4th of July, man.
I love it.
See some fireworks tonight?
Yeah, that's good. Right after this show.
There we go.
I apologize for that. I'm a rookie, man.
No, that was perfect. I was going to mention it anyway. So not a rookie at all. So you can catch my podcast on Apple Tunes, Spotify, just about everywhere else. There's, I think, 11 different spots. You can also catch it on YouTube if you like to see the video and our faces when we do crazy things. I don't know. So don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend. It helps out more than you guys know. We really appreciate it. David, let the listeners know where you can be found because I think there's a couple different spots.
Yeah, we're obviously we're on iTunes, the Apple Podcast. We're on Spotify. We're on Google Play. We're on a Podbean. I guess that's what it's called. Yeah, Podbean.
Bean. I always want to say Beam with an M. And
it's like, Bean.
Yeah, mess me up.
And so, but that's all the traditional haunts. We also have a YouTube channel, Hammercast Network, and of course the show is Hammercast.
Yes.
And so, yeah.
I looked for it. First time I looked for it, I looked for not. I looked for
Hammerjacks.
Yeah, and I was like, that's not him.
No. Was there one?
Yeah, it wasn't you.
Okay. Now you got me curious.
Yeah, go for it. So happen to also notice on the Twitter handle a little SFBX action going on the little screen there. What's up with that? That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Very excited about that. Looking forward to mixing it up with some guys and I got the invite a few weeks ago. A couple of weeks ago. I mean, it seems like the invitations have been going out, slowly.
They're down to the last 3-4%. Yeah. My box is still empty, but
Oh, I thought you had one in already.
No, but that's okay.
Now, were you in it last year?
No. So okay. I just started my pod and stuff this year, so.
Well, we gotta get you in there. Do some politicking.
There we go.
It's hard though. I mean, when they talk about how many people are applying, it's just like, you got a 1 in 10 chance. I mean, it's really what it comes down to when you think about all the people that have applied. So I look at myself as being very, very fortunate. So very lucky.
Yeah. Done any mocking for it yet or anything yet?
I haven't. I'm in a group, a pick 6 group, because I chose the 6th pick in my division, which is the cardboard box division, because that about suits me just right. Obviously the theme is toys, and one of the toys was the cardboard box, and so I remember just about every Christmas morning with my kids, they open up the presents and they end up playing with the boxes. And so I thought it was fitting, but I actually got to pick my draft slot, which is 6.
Okay.
And I chose that one. Well, a couple other ones I really wanted were gone.
Sure.
But no, it's no mocking. I just finally got the real scoring system down. Some people were saying there's no PPR, but there's half point PPR, and half point, and also half point first downs. But it's tight end premium. The tight end gets the extra half point in both first downs and PPR.
That's awesome.
So a lot of strategy there.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, I'll do a little cheers to that. I'll use my unofficial sponsor. That's a little Crown Vanilla here.
Cheers.
And I think you've got a very interesting mixture in your hand. What was that, sir?
This is actually a cold brew Jägermeister coffee, and it's just coffee you can sip on, icy cold, with Jägermeister in it. It's actually it's a new branded product.
That's awesome.
And so
cool, very cool.
And it's actually kind of nice. It's just something that you can sip on and just kind of relax with. And so normally we're doing bourbon. It's been a long weekend, Sunday night.
I get that 100%. 100%. I know on a show you said you were drinking something. It was 2-star. I'm a very simple whiskey man. Where does a Crown Vanilla fall into the star? Is that half star? Is that a 5-star?
Well,
what is a Crown?
Actually, when you say that, the 2-star was actually the name of the bourbon. It was from Louisville, Kentucky, and it's called 2-star because there's 2 stars on the Louisville flag.
Okay.
And now it is a value bourbon, and it's right in that $20 for a fifth.
Okay, yeah.
And so, but I will tell you this: it's actually pretty good for it's a good everyday sipping bourbon that I would much rather have what you have, and I would rank all the Crown products higher than this product. But if you just want something and it's cheap and you don't have anybody over, you just want to sip on that and smoke a cigar out on the deck or whatever. Yeah. I recommend it.
Fantastic. See, getting a little bourbon tips for you. Now let's switch on to a little fantasy football talk. You've been playing fantasy football, what, a couple weeks, couple years, couple decades?
I've been playing. I'm an old dog, man. I've been playing since the 90s.
Okay.
And I was playing, believe it or not, I don't know if you even recall this, but back in the day, in the mid 90s, the USA Today newspaper used to have a thing on the back where you actually salary cap football, and they had all the players, and you would literally fill out your roster based on a salary cap, snail mail it in, and then watch the games. And then they report in the paper the following Tuesday the winners and all that kind of stuff. And we did that, and then we jumped all into it.
So basically first edition DraftKings.
Yeah, you know what? It's kind of what it was, but we didn't have to pay for it.
Yeah, that's
and
cool.
So that's interesting that you put it that way. Yeah, it's pretty much DFS.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but much slower.
yeah. You're the sweat show would last a long time on that one.
It would. So let's talk about the stuff you do have going on with Hammercast and everything. We'll break into different parts of it. But why don't we start with the podcast and the YouTube, how that came about, and a little bit about the show.
Yeah, well, my buddies, I have two friends on the show, Kenneth and Chad. Known these guys for over 20 years. They're actually college buddies. They've been together. They've known each other for a long time. And I used to work with Kenneth, and I'm real good friends with him and his brother. And so it just goes way back. So the rapport's always been there. We've always played in leagues together for the last 20 years. And we've played in every kind of league you can imagine. Awesome. IDP, the MFL Master Leagues, the old Top Gun leagues, deep rosters. I got 55-man roster leagues in all that kind of stuff. But these guys have been there thick and thin in every kind of thing we've ever done. And so last year we were all together for a weekend draft with a bunch of buddies, and we were playing poker the night before the draft. We were going to play golf the next day and draft with all our guys, and we're sitting there doing some mock drafting, and none of us were even looking at anything. No sheets, no laptops, no tablets, and we're just going right off the top of our head, and we're just talking, and we're talking about this and talking about this, and we're like, dang, this is a great podcast. It's like, I mean, it seems like, maybe we're too into this. And so we kind of blew that off last year, and we didn't think about it. But then this year we really started doing a lot more of these dynasty startups when the COVID hit, and God, we've gotten in way too many. But we really dialed it up. And so, we decided, you know what, let's do it. Let's just, for fun, let's put a little podcast together and just talk football and just have a good time with it. If it helps someone, that's great. If it doesn't, you know what, we're having fun. We're doing what we want to do. We're having bourbon, we're having beer, we're having barbecue. And you know what, we're talking football. What's better than that? Since we don't live around each other anymore, it's our way of doing it. and it kind of took off. And next thing you know, we're like, well, let's do this. Well, let's make a logo. Well, let's do this. And you know how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
Now we've got a YouTube channel. We've got the podcast. We're on all the networks.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a website. We've got writers, and we're putting out articles and content, and it's all just coming to us. And I'm a natural. I mean, not a natural, but I've been a marketer all my career for billion-dollar companies, and branding and marketing. And so, our goal is to, So our goal is to let's just build a brand slowly and methodically and see what happens with it. The expectation is not that it's not to monetize it or to get rich or anything like that. The idea is to keep it fun, keep it entertaining, keep it informational,
mm-hmm.
and have a good time, and let the chips fall where they fall.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the approach we're taking now. Obviously, we're all competitive. That's why we play sports. That's why we play competitive sports, and that's why we want to do well. And so we're all working really hard to try to make this thing as professional and grow the legs quicker than we probably should. But you know what? We're having fun. And so if we can do it and we have the means, we're going to do it and see where it goes.
That's awesome. That's fun. And a key part in there to me, especially when there's three of you guys involved in it, is keeping it fun. If you guys aren't going to have fun with it, it's going to die.
Absolutely. And what's really cool is all three of us have something unique and different that we bring to the table.
Very cool.
Chad works for a really big tech company, and they do a lot of, web work and SEO and all that kind of stuff. And so he's doing all that search engine optimization, all that kind of stuff, and the web stuff. Kenneth is producing and learning and doing all the editing for all the pods, the videos, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm doing all the branding, the marketing, the promoting, and the pushing, and working with all the writers and creating all those things, almost the content creator.
Sure.
And so between the three of us, we really all got our charges, and we're all kind of attacking it together, and it's kind of working out. And it helps when you have three people that are very qualified at what they do, that you don't have to do it all yourself.
Exactly. And speaking of that, that marketing guru that you tend to be, one of the things that I enjoy very much so on your Twitter is when you post and torture the world with your barbecue pictures, being that I am a barbecue lover, as let's be real, most of us are.
I know, or at least aspiring.
You kill me, man. You kill me. So let's talk barbecue for a minute.
Sure.
First, a little background. You got a couple things going on in the barbecue world and ages of it. Just give me a little summarization of that.
Yeah. Well, I grew up, in Memphis, Tennessee, and Memphis is considered one of the top 3 barbecue cities in the world.
The other two are.
I'm sorry.
The other two are
Kansas City, and and people can argue Austin, Texas, or they can argue Nashville or whatever, but it's Kansas City and Memphis in my book. They're the top 2. Okay. Texas overall as a state is amazing for barbecue, and I love Texas barbecue. As a matter of fact, I model some of my barbecue after Texas barbecue because it's post oak, it's salt and pepper, and that's what I like to cook with.
But Franklin style.
Oh yeah, he does a good job, and I do that style for brisket.
Yeah,
but anyway. But I started competing professionally while I was living in Wisconsin, and I was the VP of marketing for Culver's restaurants.
I live in Chicagoland, so
yeah, so you know all about Culver's, and so I was up there, and I started competing up there, and then going to Kansas City and Tennessee's and all these other states, and we found out that I was pretty darn good at it, But growing up around barbecue, I pretty much always kind of joke that I got barbecue sauce pouring in my veins. But I made my own sauces for that very first competition. And when I went to that very first competition as a rookie, I skipped all the amateur stuff. I went straight to the pros. I paid my entry fees, had to turn in chicken, ribs, pork, and brisket, and brought the whole family. And it was, I way overdid it. But when you go to a barbecue contest, all you really want to hear is your name called at least one time. They usually call the top 10 of every category and then a top 10 overall. Well, I wasn't feeling too great, but that first category chicken, they call them down, and I'll be damned if they didn't say a rookie team, Fine Swine, got second place chicken. And so I was so excited. I came back, and my wife, I gave her the award, and she saw my hand. She goes, "I never see you shake ever." And I was just that nervous. It was that much excitement. And we ended up getting 2 more calls and then an overall call. We got third place overall.
That's
and there was a lot of really heavy hitters there. And so everybody came over to congratulate, and they saw these big wine bottles. And they saw these big wine bottles, and they were full of barbecue sauce because my team name was A Fine Swine. And I always liked wine, and so I had my sauce and my barbecue sauce in wine bottles, and that was kind of my shtick.
Mm-hmm.
And the next thing you know, everybody's like, "Man, I want some of this sauce. I want some of the sauce." And so we started actually bottling and selling sauce, basically for my rookie year, and that was back in 2011.
Okay.
And so, and it sells all over it sells in multiple countries now, all the big retail outlets, and so, but yeah. So anyway, we started winning everywhere we went, and then I finally decided to make the push to be. Well, I wanted to be close to my mom and dad, and so we found a place right down the road from where they live in small farm town in Illinois, right outside of St. Louis, and I turned in my resignation when I turned 50, and a few years ago, and I've been running multiple restaurants ever since, all barbecue.
Okay. Yeah, I get hungry every time I look at those damn pictures. So keep putting them up.
Well, I will.
Make my way down there.
I will, and we actually put out a video this morning on how to improve your wings, and I've got a video we're probably going to post later tonight. It's a short video, just on how to make your wood selection, how to pair what meats with what woods. And so a lot of people they take that for granted, and so hopefully people are going to get a little bit out of that stuff.
Yeah, I stick with pecan probably too much, but
that's my number one go-to. That's my number, and I talk about that. Pecan is my number one wood that I use.
All right. There you go. Look at that. Bob knows what's going on. A little word on the street.
Yeah, you do. I'm impressed. I love it.
All right. So speaking of barbecue sauce, and we're going to give a bottle away of your good stuff.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to give away 2 bottles.
I like that even better. We're going to give away 2 bottles to our Listener League winner for this week's Listener League question. So here are a couple questions that came in. We have Jacob. I'm not going to say your last name, but I'll spell it Greider.
I know him.
Last name.
Greider.
Eliminated. Greider. But we're going to take his question and we're going to go with it anyway. What's with the love affair he has with Jonathan Taylor? So you have a little man crush on Jonathan Taylor, huh? Or at least a fantasy football one.
Yeah, he's just rubbing it in because he just took him in a Devy league that we're in.
Oh.
And so he just took Jonathan Taylor. And Jonathan Taylor, I mean, obviously everybody has talked Jonathan Taylor to death.
Sure.
But there's just certain metrics that I just keep in the back of my mind every time someone tries to say he's not going to do it or this or he's going to platoon, all these things. He has 3 years of back-to-back 2,000-yard seasons at Wisconsin, which is a Big Ten university, and you can't take that away. That kind of production's never been done before. And then he has an elite offensive line, and when you look at him versus you look at Marlon Mack, I mean, these coaches know what they got, right. And when Marlon Mack can rush for 1,000 yards and in behind that line, imagine what this guy can do. So he's got an elite offensive line. He's got an elite production background. He's got elite measurables when it comes to size. He's 5'10", 226. But then you say, man, look at that. He's a big back. But then he's got elite measurables when it comes to speed. 99 percentile, 4.39. And the 40. And so he's got the elite measurables in speed, size. He's got better hands than people realize. He's got the offensive line. He's in a good situation. I think he's going to eat. As a matter of fact, I think he could finish a top 10 running back this year. And so, yeah, I love him, Jacob. I love him.
There you go. Sit down and quit taking his guy. All right. Next up, we have Swiper the Cat, FF, at Swiper Cat. Love the name. Good. It's pretty funny. Maybe it's funny. I think it's funny. So he says, will a clear-cut wide receiver 1, so top 12 wide receiver, emerge in Houston with the departure of D-Hop? Or should fantasy players expect a headache trying to guess who gets the targets each week?
Okay, now is he asking if
he's asking if
if
Fuller,
Houston's going to have a clear cut wide receiver one for their team, or is they going to be a wide receiver one overall?
All the above.
Yeah.
So
First
the
of
way
all,
I see
I
it
think
is like Devontae Adams. You know, he's the clear cut one over there, and he's
right, and
probably going to finish in or around that
yes,
top
he'll be right
that
there.
one. That's why I think he's asking. So is Cook going to do it? Cook's going to do it, or is yeah?
If anybody has a chance, it would be Cooks. He's clearly the best receiver on the team. We all know this. Yeah, he had the concussion problems, but he's actually not missed many games. And Will Fuller, you can't trust. You cannot trust a guy like that. I mean, you know, he's the soft tissue injuries, they just happen, and he's always been a big play splash guy. And they don't have a reliable tight end. Cooks is going to, in my opinion, Cooks is going to take over as the leader of that team, but he's not going to be a wide receiver one overall. I think he has the potential to be a wide receiver two, a low end wide receiver two. But I definitely think he's going to lead all teams, and he's going to lead everybody on that team in targets.
Yeah, I went out and picked up Cooks because of that same thought, same reason. I still like Fuller, especially if he's your, third, fourth, fifth wide receiver, and you can take that boom out of nowhere. That's beautiful.
He could be a league winner. It's just hard to bet on him.
Right. Yeah. You can't count on him every week. At least he hasn't proven that you can count on him.
He's a best ball dream come true.
Yeah. That's my thought as well. And I could be wrong. My crystal ball's broken. So, all right. Kevin at DuBois_22. Ask him why he hates ketchup so much.
Man, these people.
Bunch of trolls.
Why can't they bring me some serious questions, man? I'm just kidding. I went out there with a take on ketchup because I saw a worse take on ketchup. And I'm like, oh, look, guys, unless you're giving it to your kids for their chicken fingers, man, keep it off your steaks, keep it off your burgers, and keep it off your meats. And boy, the ketchup eating crowd really let me have it.
Well, I let you have it too, but it wasn't because of there. It's where you kept the conversation going after that. You said, go ahead and throw it on your Chicago style hot dog.
Oh, yeah.
No.
You know what? I just honestly, I flubbed that one. And I admit it. I admit it. That was a no. I made a mistake and I owned it. But I got. What's funny is I put a follow up tweet saying, hey, I make all these hot takes all the time, and then the one that gets all of the backlash is talking about ketchup. And so I don't hate ketchup. I just don't like it on meat. I'll dip my fries in it.
Well, you think about it, us guys, we love our fantasy football, but they literally say the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. So you think talk about having opinions. We're talking about food.
Oh, I know. Oh, yeah. They take that stuff seriously. I get it.
Here's a fourth question for you. This is from Brendan Anderson at BK2COLL. He says, who, non-family member, who's had the most positive influence in your life, talking to you there, Dave, and the nope, that's the end of the sentence. That's my own sentence after that. So who has had the most positive influence in your life? Great.
I am going to most positive. I'm gonna say Dan Dolan. He is a friend of mine and my former boss. When I was the director of marketing at Shoney's, he was my vice president. He is the guy that actually wrote "Where's the Beef." He's done so many ad campaigns, and he took me under his wing and really developed me into a true brand marketer. Okay. And he was every night after work, we would stand outside the office and smoke a cigar and just talk. And he taught me things about life, things about health, things about family, but more importantly, things about marketing and branding. And I still talk to him and I still keep up with him. And he's an Ohio guy. And we've had our arguments when it comes to SEC versus Big Ten and all those kind of things. But you know what? He's done more for me than outside of my family than anyone when it comes to my overall perspective of life.
That's a great question. That's pretty cool. That's every once in a while you get a boss like that who isn't just a boss but actually cares and treats you right and and
Absolutely
helps you grow. So that's pretty cool.
Yep.
All right, so I get to put the pressure on you. That's something I've been having fun doing lately. Takes the hot spot off of me. I want you to give away this listener league spot and these 2 bottles of sauce to one lucky winner, and all 4 of those guys are yours for the picking. So whichever one you think.
So it's okay.
So we had the Jonathan Taylor heckle, we had the ketchup heckle, and then we had the wide receiver 1 question with Swiper the cat, and we had the non-family member question, positive influence with Mr. Anderson.
All right. I've got all 4 of them.
Okay.
I just tore them into 4 pieces.
You aren't taking the heat either. I love it.
I'm literally going to pull them off a hat, and it is the Houston Texans question.
Swiper the cat, FF at Swiper the cat. Welcome to the Fantasy Football League. I will send you a direct DM message so we can get the sauce sent to you. My giveaway is air. It's a league entry, but we're gonna have to get your address and stuff so we can get you that delicious sauce. And so I'll be looking for that.
I saw one more question on your post, but I guess it was too late to get it in. But I actually was prepared for it. It was what do we think about the 49ers backfield this year between Mostert and Coleman?
I missed that question, but that is I know what I think about that.
Yeah, you go ahead. I don't know what your opinion is, but I'll just tell you what mine is. My opinion is Mostert is clearly the best back. Mm-hmm. And I think he proved he was the best back. And as a matter of fact, if you look back last year at the last 6 games of the season, Mostert had 59% of the total running back carries to 26 for Coleman. He also had 61% of the running back receptions to 22% for Coleman. And so his total RB touches in the final 6 games of the year were 59% to 28%. I think he's a clear-cut better back. I think his speed is superior. And I do now. I'm not saying he's going to be getting workhorse 20 touch a game levels, but I do believe he will have the lion's share of the share. And so I would take Raheem Mostert over Coleman on a good or a bad day.
I thoroughly believe in Mostert as a talent. I would love to see the team use him, not even necessarily as the workhorse, but just as the consistent role every week where you don't have to question, is my guy playing or not?
Right.
That's the part I always have a hard time with.
It's a nightmare. And but I think the biggest knock on him right now is he was such a late breakout, and he's like 26 years old already, or 27 even. Yeah. And so everybody's worried about that. And so he is slipping to 8th and 9th round sometimes, 7th, 8th, 9th. And you know what? Every time I see him in the 7th or 8th, I'm grabbing the guy because I believe your
starters are filled.
Right. But when you get a guy like that has that kind of upside that you can use as a flex, you got to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like it. I like that answer, and I apologize to whoever that was. I did not see that, but it might have been because it was might have been Father's Day or something.
Well, I did a little last-minute search, and so someone just added it kind of late. But since I saw it, I went ahead and did a little bit of notes on it.
Well, I appreciate that. All right. Let's go to the next question. This is about one of your articles, and I put in here a question mark, and then I realized what it was, so ignore my question mark I had in there. Let's talk about your overlooked, underutilized areas of fantasy football series, your PPT receivers. Let's talk a little bit about that little subject that's kind of near and dear to your heart.
Yeah, and I've talked about this on the last 2 pods. We actually had a 2-segment series. And now it's not, I wouldn't say, I'm not going to say overlooked, but maybe it's underutilized. Everybody understands PPT. It's points per target. I believe that's a truer gauge of receiver efficiency because you're totally being measured. Your efficiency is being measured by your production on the amount of targets you get. And we all know targets are earned. And so when you think about earned targets and then the production you do with it, that gives you a really nice number. And now, obviously, I look at a lot of other variables when I put my overall projections together. I look at ADOT, I look at targets per game, I look at total targets. I call it my secret 6 things that I use, and then I add the PPT as the 7th. But I use receptions per game, I use receiving yards per game, I use total targets, percent of teams' targets, which is also important when you think about their target share on the team. and then the targets per game, and of course the ADOT. And but when I take the point per target efficiency rating alone, metric alone, I really broke down the top 48 receivers, and then I found out who the top 10 over efficient and the top 10 under efficient. And I'll just talk about just a couple of each that were really, really interesting, and they've brought on some pretty strong debates.
Let me ask you one thing when you go in here. So do you I'll let you ask your guys, say these guys, and it might actually answer my question. That's always a good habit. Listen to the answers because they might actually be in there. So let me do that. Let me listen before I ask my question. So go for it.
Well, every time I bring this up, I get a lot of controversy.
And that's probably what's bubbling in my head, but your answers might.
Right. And I'll just go right to it. I'll just go right to the top two most efficient with their targets last year.
Okay.
Number 2 was Chris Godwin. Okay. And as a matter of fact, if you look at what he did last year, now his targets, his point per target was 2.30. Let's put it this way: the wide receiver ones average was 1.88.
Okay.
We're talking Hopkins, Julio, all these guys. They averaged about 1.88, 1.89 per target. And then when you get a guy like Chris Godwin at 2.30, that was uber efficient. And so now, but you also got to realize that they threw the ball. The game script put them in a situation where they had to throw the ball over and over and over again because Jameis was just throwing a ton of interceptions, and they were playing from behind. And so the amount of targets he got last year were astronomical. And so if he was to come back down to earth, let's just say he comes back down to earth just to the best, like Julio and Hopkins and those kind of guys with his efficiency, because he's going to have a 25% increase in targets to match what he did this past year. Okay. And so, and plus they just mentioned that they're going to start running a 12 personnel base offense. Brady's going to be much more efficient than Jameis Winston. All these things, I just believe he's at his highest value you could possibly see, coming off a wide receiver 2 year, getting the perceived improvement over quarterback, all these things factored in. I just think I think regression's coming. I still think here's where people get me wrong. They think I'm saying fade him. I'm not saying fade him. I'm saying I don't believe he's going to be a top 5 receiver. I believe he's, as a matter of fact, my projections have him at wide receiver 11, and that might be skewed a little bit. I could easily see myself putting him up there to 9 or 10 when it's all said and done. But I just have a hard time believing that he's going to be able to match that kind of efficiency for the second year in a row with all these different scenarios. And so that's kind of the thing that we talk about and on the pod, on our second pod. And then the number 1 guy, this is even crazier, A.J. Brown. And A.J. Brown last year, it was at 2.57 point per target. And it was just so far above everybody else. It's such an outlier performance. And I brought that up on a Facebook group, and they said, "Oh, you're an idiot. How can he have an outlier season when it was his rookie year?" And I said, "Look, dummy, it's not his season, it's the performance."
Right.
It's just never like nobody has that kind of efficiency. And then you think about Ryan Tannehill had amazing efficiency last year that came out of the nowhere. So you're not only going to have to depend on your efficiency staying that high, you're going to have to depend on your quarterback, and that's a rushing offense. The game script and the schedule is very favorable for the run game next year. But you take all these things into factor, he's going to need 40% increase in targets. And you know what? He might get it. He's going to be the true wide receiver 1. And I love A.J. Brown, and I'm a Titans fan, and he might get 40%. But if his efficiency numbers go down, which I can't imagine them staying the same without that many targets, obviously, he's going to have 40% increase, and just to match his numbers from last year. I think he's going to increase. My projections have him doing better than last year, obviously, because he is going to get more targets, but I don't think he's going to maintain a 2.57 efficiency rating. And so that's kind of what we talk about in that number 2 podcast. And then in the last podcast, we talk about the bottom 10 in efficiency, and I've got 2 names I'll talk about, and they're the top 2 least efficient, and they both came in at 1.50 versus a 1.88 average. And those are Odell Beckham and Tyler Boyd. And what's interesting is Tyler Boyd, that's why he's a big candidate for me to have a huge bounce back, because I went back and dug a little deeper. Tyler Boyd technically was over 04 the previous year in efficiency. And so if he gets any kind of improvement from going to Burrow, plus that offensive line improvement, having AJ Green on the field, all the factors are coming into play. So if Boyd has just a slight uptick in production from his surrounding teammates and cast, I think he has a wide receiver 1 candidate upside. He was a wide receiver 2 with just all the terrible things that happened to him last year. So I'm really high on Boyd. And Odell Beckham I'm pretty high on too, because he does really well in those secret 6 measurables that I always add up. And he always has a ton of targets, but he still finished in top 3 in a lot of benchmark categories that I like. And so I think Odell Beckham does have the potential under that Stefanski offense to improve over last year. And I also believe the second year receiver quarterback mesh is always better than the first year. Yeah. And a lot of people argue about that because, and I don't know if you know this, Bob, but never in the history, and this is a whole thing about Hopkins, never in the history of the NFL has a wide receiver 1 through 12 transfer to a new team and have a wide receiver 1 year the following year with his new team. It's never happened.
Did not know that, but interesting.
But anyway, that's the kind of stuff we've been digging into and talking about on these pods. And our next pod is probably going to go a little deeper into the other benchmarks besides the PPT.
So here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Because it always sparks debate, and I always like to play devil's advocate once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
When I say once in a while, I really mean often. Do you find that the PPT is higher for your deep threat guys than your short target guys? Your high volume guys.
Yeah, obviously, the higher the volume, the less efficient you're going to be because it's just math. Okay. Yeah. But because it's per target, it does give you a better gauge. Obviously, you have more opportunities to like Devontae Adams was one of the bottom 10.
Yeah.
But he also averaged 10 targets per game.
Right.
And so,
do you ever break them out and compare them in those 2 subgroups? Is maybe what I was thinking. Would that, compare your high target guys within, like, that almost feels like it's an its own show.
Well, that's why I go to when I actually develop my projections.
Mm-hmm.
That's why my secret 6 metrics, total targets is a category, targets team percentage is a category, and targets per game is a category. And so I lay all that out there. As a matter of fact, I handwrite everything.
Yeah, I saw you reaching over some paper.
I handwrite everything, and that helps me retain it a little bit better.
Yeah.
And then I put it in my spreadsheets, and then I create my projections from there. But I always handwrite everything first, then I format it. So, but yeah, all of those things come into factor. But that you can't excuse the overall efficiency ratings based on the per targets.
Awesome. And I like the fact that it's part of your secret 6, which just made us think of a secret sauce. And we're going right back to the barbecue.
I know. there's other variables at play, but when I do my projections, I try to pick the metrics that have the highest degree of predictability.
Okay.
And that's what we use.
Awesome. I love it. Anything else you want to promote on the show side or the channel side before we go to my Ask All question?
No, this has been amazing. What a great platform, and you're a great interviewer, and so I appreciate being on here.
I love you. I love doing it. I love bringing people on, bring great guests on. It actually makes being a good interview easy when you got great guests. So,
thank you. Well, you're going to be on our show soon.
Oh, damn it,
Lord willing.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm messing around. All right. So my Ask All preseason question, I'm asking all my guests, is who is one quarterback, one wide receiver, one running back that you can possibly see finishing in the top 5 this season, for the season overall, but you're able to draft them 13th or later at their position. So they're projected, or you can draft them as the 16th running back, but you could see them finishing as the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 running back. So draft steals is what I'm talking about here. So let's start with
high upside guys that you're going to be able to get a little later.
Yeah.
Well, in quarterback, we just talked about him a little bit. I got Baker Mayfield.
Okay.
I believe they've made some much improved offensive line. I believe it's going to be a second year. We just talked about that with Odell Beckham. Landry is sneaky underrated. Every year he gets less. He gets less love than many receivers, and he produces every single year. Plus, Baker has already proved he can do it. Okay, he regressed pretty significantly because he was making commercials. But I also believe Stefanski. I believe Stefanski can run a more efficient offense, and I believe Baker has more talent than Kirk Cousins, and Kirk Cousins definitely has the ability to put out an efficient offense. And so now I'm not saying he's going to finish top 5, but I believe he has the potential, and his ADP from what I'm looking at is around 14 of the quarterbacks.
Same one I'm looking at. Yep, 14.
And then I've got a wild card in there.
Let's do it.
You want to hear it?
I do.
My wild card is Teddy Bridgewater.
I can see that one coming. Yeah.
And the reason is first of all, let me just say, CMC,
I heard
DJ
of that
Moore, Robbie Anderson, Curtis Samuel, Ian Thomas, and the biggest name of all, Joe Brady. And so you take Joe Brady, who just knows how to run that spread offense. He's got there's no weak spot in that offense. They've got a bad defense. They're in a very high-scoring division. They're going to have to throw the ball a lot. I think Bridgewater has a 62% deep ball throwing accuracy rating. I think there could be, with all those really, really good targets, both short, intermediate, and long, deep threats, I believe he's going to have a lot of tools to surprise people. I think Carolina's going to score a lot of points. They're going to have to.
Yeah. That's a nice sneaky. I mean, he's listed on here as 26 on my sheet, which means everybody's got 2, and we're still grabbing a guy. And so if your league is that way, that's a nice deal. Or, maybe you just totally sat on it and everybody just went on a run and took their guys, and you want to go for somebody, or you took Mahomes or someone early and you want a nice little shot for later. Bye week fill in or something like that. That's a cheap, free last pick of the draft type deal right there. So I like that.
I love it. I agree. Thank you.
All right. So we're going to go to running back next. And you prefer, I think you said full PPR, correct?
Yeah, I'm a PPR guy. Now obviously I got to adjust for, depending on the league, like Scott Fishbowl is going to be a half PPR. So I got to adjust for that. But typically if I'm in a league, it's PPR.
Okay. So
running back. This one just blows my mind because and I've got Austin Eckler. People are saying, well, he doesn't have Rivers anymore. We don't know what's going to happen with this. It's still the same offensive coordinator. They're still going to do the same thing that they do. His competition for touches. I do like Justin Jackson because you can get him so late. But I'm just not sold on those guys being good enough to take away a lot of touches for him. And he proved last year that he was a top 5 running back. He's being drafted once again at 14 of the running backs.
Loved him last year.
And I believe that first of all, he's proved he can do it. Gordon is gone. It's the same offensive scheme. They do have a better defense, so they might have more positive game scripts. And I'm just not hooked on those other guys. And so, I'm all in on Eckler, especially at his ADP.
Sure. So you snuck in an extra quarterback here? Did you have an extra
running back? I got a wild card, and I talked about him already, and that's Jonathan Taylor. I love him. Okay. Hey, I have a love affair with him.
You do? See, you admitted to it now. Thank you.
Yes, but the fact of the matter is he
22nd on here.
If you go back and look at some of the seasons that these other rookies had, like Barkley, and you look at what even Chubb has done in his rookie season, what Fournette did in his rookie season, what Zeke did in his rookie season, they were all RB1s, and several of them were RB top 5s. He's got better elite measurables, and he's got better college production, and he's got a better offensive line. I'm telling you, everybody, when they see this guy on the field and they see him in shorts, these coaches want to win. They're going to put the ball in the best player's hands. Yeah. I don't care if they say, well, they like this guy, and they like, no. He is going to take over that job, and he's going to crush it. I really believe it.
So if you got the 101 pick and a non-super flex, you're snagging Taylor over CEH or anyone else.
Oh God, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I figured that was the answer. I just wanted to hear that emphatic answer.
Yes. Not even close.
Okay. All right, let's slide. Oh, go ahead.
Wide receiver is not gonna surprise you. It's DJ Moore. He's right on the cusp. He's got elite breakout in college early, He was an early breakout in the NFL. He's got Joe Brady. Just everything's lining up perfectly for him. And my wild card on the receiver is Robert Woods. And a lot of people are talking about Robert Woods. People don't realize he had over 9 targets per game last year. He also had 23% of the team's targets, but that number really jumped up when they went to that base 12. And he had 139 targets overall. But he was overall number 2 touches per game at 9.71, and he averaged 76 yards per game as well. He's got all the potential in the world, especially with Cooks out of there now. And I just believe that Robert Woods could be a wide receiver 1. And he's going, around 15, 17, between 15 and 17 on the running backs.
Yeah, he's always disrespected. He's sitting here at 20 on my chart right here, so he's good and down there. So if you went running back early and you want a pretty good, reliable wide receiver, that's a little beautiful target for you. So,
yep.
We usually don't sneak a tight end in here, but I think you got one for us, right?
I got one, and everybody's, he's the flavor of the year. Everybody likes Mike Gesicki.
Yeah,
with the Dolphins.
Gesicki or Higbee, right?
Yeah, well, I'm on Gesicki, and the reason is they just keep talking about how they're going to put him right in the slot, and he has elite measurables. Preston Williams is coming off an injury. He's also a flavor of the year. Everybody loves Preston Williams, and you know what? Mm-hmm. That guy's got all the measurables. He's a great talent, but he's coming off an injury, and he was a rookie last year. And Parker, I just think it's a small sample size. I love his upside, but we only saw a late breakout with him, and we don't, what happens there. And I believe that Gesicki, quite honestly, could be the most athletic of all the receivers, all the pass catchers. And so the fact they're going to put him in the slot, there's some uncertainty. They don't have a lot of depth there. I think he has a chance to shine.
Nice. I like it. So we're going to talk right here. I want you guys to go and subscribe right now. On my next show, I'm going to do something completely different than I've done so far, and it's pretty cool. I'm going to have Matthew Betts, medical writer for the Fantasy Footballers, on the show with me. We're gonna break down injuries. Get it? Break down.
See what you did there.
Exactly. I have a ton of player injury puns for us they'll definitely be cringe-worthy. So don't worry about it. But we're gonna talk about Tua in there. So you brought up Parker, put it right in my head there. But before we wrap this one up, David, remind everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, on Twitter, Hammerjacks, the number 1, and on Facebook we have a Hammercast page. We also have Instagram. We're just really starting new on that. YouTube page, which is the Hammercast Network, and of course we're on everywhere you like your podcast. If you like them on Apple, if you like them on Spotify, wherever, just look for Hammercast Network, and awesome. You'll be able to find us. But hit us up on Twitter, and we'll, you got any questions for us, we'll DM you, and we'll answer anything we can, and we'll talk bourbon, barbecue, and beer too.
That can't beat those bees unless you're putting down Bob's Three-Toed Warriors. Sorry, that one just came up. I can be found on Twitter, Bob's Three-Toed, on YouTube at Bob's Three-Toed Warriors, and listen to new shows that drop Monday and Thursday mornings on YouTube and everywhere else podcasts can be found. That's all for this show. It's been Bob's Three-Toed Warriors and David, reminding you soon enough, hopefully anyway, damn it, you'll be able to hit the waiver wire, set your lineups, dominate your opponents. Let's win some championships together, people. See ya.
Peace. Thank you.